I've never been good at making decisions. Maybe that's why I ended up there, sneakers stuck in the mud, lungs burning, and branches slashing my face as I ran deeper into the forest, fleeing from a furious dog. But let's not skip ahead. It all started with that house. A lonely building at the end of a dirt road, surrounded by a rotting wooden fence and pine trees way too tall for my liking. It wasn't my first break-in, but it was definitely the riskiest and the stupidest. I'd heard about it in a bar, listening to two hillbillies talk about how old Dorian had finally died and left behind a house full of junk. One of them laughed and said there might be real silver in the drawers, collector's stuff. To me, that sounded like an opportunity. I got there at 2 in the morning. Clear sky, no moon, just stars and the sound of wind rustling the pines. I ditched my bike near some bushes and jumped the fence easily. The house had a creaky porch, a half-open window, and a musty smell leaking through every crack. I went in. The place was drowned in the thickest silence I've ever heard. Everything looked untouched. There were old photos on the walls, a glass cabinet full of dusty cups, and a desk that seemed to be hiding something valuable. That's where I found the pocket watch. Real silver, heavy with a carved crest. I slipped it into my pocket and kept looking around, but I made the mistake of opening a drawer too hard. It slammed, echoed, and then I heard it. A growl, low, deep, coming from outside. I walked to the window. A pair of eyes glinted in the darkness. A German shepherd. Big, very big. Within seconds it was barking ferociously and sprinting toward the house. I panicked, jumped out the back window and ran. I crossed the yard, stumbled, vaulted over the fence again, but the dog was fast, very fast. It almost caught me as I dove between the trees into the forest surrounding the property. And that's when everything fell apart. The vegetation closed in around me like it wanted to swallow me whole. Branches snapped underfoot. Thorns tore at my shirt. The dog barked for a while, then vanished. Maybe it stopped following, or got lost. But I kept running. I couldn't bring myself to look back. When I finally stopped, gasping for air, I realized I was lost. Completely. The forest was dense, full of tall, crooked pines. The sky was barely visible through the canopy. No sign of a trail, a road, or even the house. Just trees, underbrush, and that silence that now felt wrong. I pulled out my phone. It was 4:20 a.m., 40 minutes until sunrise. Okay, I thought. I'll wait here till dawn, then figure out where I am. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't be that easy. Something felt off about that place. The silence wasn't just the absence of sound, or it had a presence of its own. A weight. I sat on a rock trying to control my breathing. Every snapped twig in the distance made me flinch. I started to wonder if maybe I should walk, try to get out before daylight. But I had no idea where to go. Then I saw it. Out of the corner of my eye between two tree trunks, something moved. Too fast. I only caught a glimpse of a dark, thin, elongated shape that vanished before my eyes could focus. I jumped to my feet, the hairs on my neck standing up. I looked around. Nothing. Calm down. Could have been an animal, a deer, a raccoon, but I knew it wasn't. That thing didn't move like any creature I knew. There was no sound, no footsteps, no snapping branches, just that raw, instant feeling, the certainty of being watched. I started walking again, slowly, trying to find any sign of civilization. A lamppost, a trail, a sign, but every step just took me deeper into the forest, between trees that all looked the same. Then I noticed something else. Every time I turned my head, I saw something shift at the edge of my vision. Always behind me, always on the periphery, never in front, and never with any sound. Little by little, real panic set in. I started walking, faster than running, even though I didn't know where I was going. I felt something behind me, not just paranoia. It was there, following me. I spun around suddenly, hoping to catch it in the act. Nothing. But then I looked at a nearby tree trunk, and I saw it, just for a second. 2 eyes, black, deep as wells, no shine, set in a pale, gaunt face peeking from behind the tree bark, as if it were part of it. I froze. It recoiled instantly as if caught in the act, and vanished. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I just took a deep breath and walked in the opposite direction, my knees shaking. When I thought I'd gone far enough, I curled up behind a massive root and hid. Tried not to think, just waited. I let time pass. Eventually, I checked my phone again. 4:40, 20 minutes until sunrise. And I knew, it was still watching me. 20 minutes until sunrise. That's what I saw when I lit up my phone again. Hands trembling, breathing heavy, muscles wound tight like cords ready to snap. I was leaning against the trunk of a wide tree, trying to convince myself that what I'd seen wasn't real. But it was. I knew it. That twisted silhouette between the pines, those damp, hollow eyes, that deep sound of wood groaning even when there was no wind. All of it was burned into me, like it had been stitched to my soul with barbed wire. My mind throbbed and I began to piece things together. I remembered an old drunk from the village, a homeless man who used to hang around the bus station when I was younger. He would often mutter about a thing that lurks behind the trunks. People said he was just crazy, delirious from the alcohol. But now his words made a terrifying kind of sense. He called it the one who hides. "Don't look behind you for too long," he once said. "The one who hides behind will find you." It was the hide behind. The legend said it only moved when you weren't looking. You'd never see it directly. It was always hiding behind something. Behind you. Behind the trees. Behind time itself. It lived in the seconds between your blinks, between the sound of a twig snapping and your reaction. It hunted the lost. It fed on fear and loneliness. Exactly where I was. A chill swept down my spine. The forest was strangely silent now. No crickets, no owls, not even the wind. It was as if the world had been paused. Only my breathing and the pounding of my heart. Too loud, too desperate. I decided staying still would kill me. I had 20 minutes, and every second was a sentence. I pushed my body forward, fighting the pain in my legs, still dirty and scratched from the earlier sprint. I picked up a rock and threw it in the opposite direction from where I planned to go. Nothing. Not a sound. I started walking, slow, alert, turning my head constantly, trying to keep as many trunks in sight as possible. I avoided blinking too long. My face was covered in cold sweat. Sometimes I'd spin around suddenly, hoping to catch it, but it was never there. It never would be. Not when I was looking. Then I felt it. That sensation deep in the gut, as if something were almost touching me. The chill that starts at the nape and cuts downward like a blade. I turned quickly. Nothing. But the shadows. They shifted. The distance between the trunks seemed wrong. Like a new space had appeared, where none had been before. Like a silhouette had slipped out only to freeze when I turned. And something else. There were marks on the trees. Like claw marks. Deep grooves shaped in arcs. Fresh ones. The bark still dripping sap. "Don't let it vanish from your perception," I murmured to myself. "Don't blink too long. Don't stare at one place too much. It moves in the gaps." I kept on. 1 step, 2, stop, turn, 2 more steps, a new trunk, stop again. Suddenly I smelled something. Strong, sweet, and rotten at once. Like decomposing meat mixed with dead flowers. I vomited among the roots of a pine tree. When I looked up, I saw something that made my legs nearly buckle. A few meters ahead, a deer stood still, frozen. Its eyes wide open, unblinking. It looked taxidermied. But as I looked closer, I noticed its neck was twisted too far, its limbs tensed in an unnatural way, as if it had been forced into that position. And there was something behind it, a shadow denser than the others, like a stain on reality itself. I spun on my heels and fled. My steps were stumbles. The branches clutched at me. Roots rose like snakes trying to trip me. I ran until my lungs burned. I stopped by a clearing. A large stone jutted out at the center, reflecting the dark sky. I sat on the ground, trying to catch my breath. I checked my phone. 12 minutes left. I could make it. 12 minutes. But then I heard it. Something moved in the trees around me. Subtle, as if silence itself had begun to breathe. Slow, measured, behind me. "Don't look," I thought. "But don't turn your back completely either. Don't ignore it." I stood up slowly, keeping my back to the stone. I began circling, trying to maintain a panoramic view of the forest. At any moment, I expected to see a branch move on its own, or a shadow shift position. Suddenly, a low, muffled laugh came from somewhere to the left. It wasn't human, it was something trying to imitate a human. A rasping chuckle, emotionless, as if a formless mouth were trying to laugh for the first time. My heart skipped a beat. Whispers followed, as if the wind were speaking. Words without meaning, but with a hypnotic rhythm. My eyes grew heavy. The tension was exhausting me. I just wanted to lie down. Sleep. Forget. That's what it wants, I muttered. "You give in?" And it takes you. I slapped my own face. Then again, I stood up, walked backward a few steps, always alert to the shadows, and that's when I saw it. For an instant, a tall, disproportionate figure, arms too long, skin pale like exposed bone, and, where eyes should have been, there was only emptiness, like holes sucking all light around them. It stood behind a trunk, partially hidden, but I knew. It was there, waiting for me to blink, waiting for me to turn. You're not getting me. Not yet. 9 minutes left. I ran again. My muscles screamed. I didn't care about making noise anymore. Fear overpowered all reason. I just wanted to get out, to feel the sun's warmth, to see another person, to hear anything that wasn't my own breath or the footsteps of something I couldn't see but could feel. I found a trail, narrow, covered in leaves, but a trail, maybe an animal's, maybe a hunter's. I followed it, stumbling, panting, crying without realizing. The trail felt endless, and the forest around me, alive, breathing, every tree an eye, every branch, a finger trying to pull me back. When exhaustion overtook me again, I stopped to breathe, checked the phone. 5 minutes. 5 damn minutes. Then I heard a crack, behind me, followed by another, and another, like something huge walking on 4 legs, slowly. You'll die here, I thought, but I didn't accept it. I turned toward the sound, a movement, too fast, gone as soon as my eyes landed on it. So I began walking backward, 1 step, 2, always watching, always expecting to see it, even knowing I never truly would. 3 minutes left. The trail was beginning to clear. The vegetation thinned. The forest sounds returned. A cricket, a bird, but something was still behind me. I knew it. I felt it. That's when I tripped. I hit the ground hard. My phone flew from my hands. As I got up, I saw it on the ground. The screen cracked. I grabbed it, turned on the light. 2 minutes. I looked around. The trees looked normal, smaller, more spaced out. I ran. The sky above was changing. A deep blue started to cut through the darkness. A thread of light in the pine canopy. Night was fading. I ran until my lungs screamed. When I finally emerged from the forest, I dropped to my knees on the cold earth. The sun was rising on the horizon. Light flooded the trail behind me, and then I heard it. One final breath, like wind through clenched teeth. A frustrated sigh. It had failed. I had survived.